Canada in 1914 was not the melting pot of culture and race that it is today. The immigration policies were extremely strict, and because of the beliefs of the government officials and the Crown at the time, these policies were also very racist. If a non-white person wished to live in Canada, their journey would have to be continuous. For example, leaving from Hong Kong and stopping in Hawaii would be considered illegal. And if someone did follow that law, which is almost impossible to do, on top of that, they would also have to pay an entry tax of $200, which was a very large sum of money at the time. If a non-white immigrant managed to follow those laws, they would end up with a job with hard labor and cheap pay, along with the fact that they could be banned from Canada whenever the government pleased. In 1914, the Canadian government had made it illegal for tickets to Canada to be sold in India. Punjabi people found this law very unfair because of the fact that India was under British rule. It was Gurdat Singh, a wealthy businessman in Japan, that had decided to take action upon his beliefs. One winter day in Hong Kong, he came across a young group of Sikh men who wanted nothing more but to travel to Canada for a better life. This really inspired Singh's acts of independence. While he was in Hong Kong, he came across a British immigration ship that had been bought by a small Chinese company. Singh decided to purchase the boat in order to take the Sikh men he had met earlier to Canada. Even though he was very aware of the Canadian laws, he was very much against them, and this ship was his way of protesting against it. And so the preparation began. The ship was filled with wooden benches to hold the 376 passengers that were to take the extensive journey across the Pacific Ocean. They departed from the shores of Hong Kong to begin their migration to a new land. After a long trip, the ship approaches the Burrard Inlet on May 23rd. The entire boat begins to cheer, unaware of the discrimination to come. All of the men on the boat have their bags packed, and the entire ship is buzzing with excitement, but instead of a welcoming, they arrive to a riot. After the news of the Komagata Maru's arrival, a member of parliament, the mayor, and 1,200 Vancouver residents meet at the town hall to discuss the concerns. While the negotiations eventuate, the Komagata Maru is being treated as a jail, surrounded by infuriated Canadians. After a long 8 days of negotiations, the government allowed Singh and 19 other passengers who were already residents of Canada to enter Vancouver, while the rest of the passengers were prohibited from leaving the ship. By July 18th, the government had made their decision and sent out deportation papers to the passengers still residing on the ship. A couple more days pass, and the Sikh men are still standing their ground as the police department begins to try and enter the Komagata Maru, but they are greeted with rocks. Both the Canadians and the Sikh men knew that this had to end sometime, even though they both demanded something different. A whole month has gone by, when Prime Minister Robert Borden decides to put Commander Hose in charge. Hundreds of Vancouver residents gathered by the docks to watch as the Komagata Maru was finally defeated by the powerful HMCS Rainbow, a Navy ship for the U.S. Army. The Komagata Maru was escorted out of the Burrard Inlet and sent home for good.